Hi, I'm Chef Gail Sokol and welcome to my kitchen. Today we're making ube rainbow cookies, very festive. And the holidays are coming, and holidays are always coming. So these colorful cookies, and they're bars, little tiny bars, and they're 3 layers thick, and they have ube in 1 layer. And ube is made from halea jam, which is the Filipino sweet potato paste, and it's so good. It has this almondy, nutty flavor. It is spectacular, and it's purple, and I am dressing in the color of the halea jam. It's beautiful, and you will love it. Now, before we get started baking, I would like you to push that notification button because I really want you to become a subscriber. I don't want you to miss any of my tips or videos. And besides, I love having you here in my kitchen with me. I feel like I have a friend. So I love baking with friends. So the first thing we're going to do with these ube rainbow cookies is we're preheating our oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. And I'm actually spraying a 9 by 13 by 2-inch high baking pan. These are known as brownie pans or just rectangular baking pans. And what I've done is I've sprayed it with nonstick cooking spray, fit the short sides with, actually the long sides with parchment paper, and it comes up just a little bit, just to the top. This is a very low cookie, so there's going to be 3 layers, 3 very low layers. Now, I only have 2 pans. I only have 2 13 by 9 by 2-inch pans. So what I'm going to do after I bake 2 layers, I'm going to take 1 layer out, put it on a flat surface because it's rectangular, and then I'm going to wash it out, respray it with nonstick cooking spray, parchment it again, spray the top of that, and then put the remaining batter in, spread it out, and bake that off. And they only bake for 11 minutes, so it's like no big deal to do this. Okay, the other thing I did to prep is I took 8 ounces of almond paste, and almond paste is not marzipan. Almond paste is basically really sweet. It's got some sugar in it, but it's really finely ground almonds, and it's spectacularly delicious. I used to use it a lot when I worked as a chef in various restaurants. And I ground it in a food processor with 3/4 of a cup of granulated sugar. Now, don't do this. Don't do the grinding in your electric mixer because almond paste is like clay. It's almost like you're reliving your childhood, and it will not grind up properly, so everything's going to be clumpy and bumpy. And you want a beautiful almond flavor throughout all of these layers. And we are going to dye 2 of the layers, 1 layer pink and 1 layer purple, like ube, so it's going to be beautiful. So I've taken my ground almond paste and granulated sugar, put it in my electric mixer. So that's 8 ounces or about 3/4 of a cup of almond paste, which you find in the grocery store. Crumble it up, grind it up with 3/4 of a cup of granulated sugar, and put it into your electric mixing bowl. And then I'm going to add 2 sticks of softened unsalted butter. All right, and this really helps everything blend together very nicely by already having that ground sugar in with your almond paste. And sugar in with almond paste or nuts when you're putting them in the food processor is really a good way to absorb any almond or any nut oils. So I'm going to get that going. And you're not really creaming it, you're really blending it just a little bit to really push down on that butter against the sugar and the almond paste, because the almond paste is really heavy. Now I separated 4 eggs. So I have the yolks here, and I happen to have another electric mixing bowl, and I have my whites in here, and I'm going to beat them into a meringue later on, and we're going to fold it into our dough. So right now, our dough is pretty thick. Let me show it to you real quick. So it's pretty thick, you can see, right? Needs a little thinning of some sort. So we're going to put the yolks in here. We're making our heavier batter now. It's not really a sponge cake or anything, but I am using the sponge cake method, if you will, because we're going to lighten up this batter, this heavier batter, with the meringue from the whites, okay? I'm also going to add, just to play up that ube, almondy, vanilla flavor, I'm actually going to add 2 teaspoons of almond extract right in there. Because we have almond paste in here, so let's just play up everybody and, you know, really give it a good pow for flavor. So I'm going to get that going. And it's yellow from the yolks. And oh my goodness, I just got a whiff of almond. Woohoo! Oh my goodness, is that good. And now I'm going to put in 2 cups on low speed, or Chef Gail will be wearing it, 2 cups of all-purpose flour. Low speed. All right, low speed, and hopefully it will stay in the mixer. So you're just going to combine this. It's going to get thick. Don't get upset. It's going to get a little thick. And this is where your egg whites come in, because your egg whites are going to lighten that batter up. All right, and once we lighten it up, remember, there's no chemical leaveners in here. There's nothing like baking powder or baking soda. This is a very dense batter, even with the egg whites, and it's a very thin cookie, really. So the bar of the cookie, the 13 by 9 inch shape, will be less than an inch high. So don't think you did something wrong. It's exactly the way it's supposed to be. It's not a cake, it's a cookie. All right. And don't forget it. Oh, Chef Gail made a little mess. That's all right. I'll clean it up. All right, so we're putting that in there. All right, now I'm going to transfer it to a large bowl, because that's what I do. I like to transfer it to a large bowl. And I'm going to get rid of my paddle. And I am actually going to move this off of here, clean up my paddle. You want to be careful that you don't get anything like yolk or butter into your egg whites when you beat them. So if you only have 1 bowl, most people only have 1 bowl. I'm lucky enough to have a second bowl. Somebody wrote to me and said that they have 2 electric mixers, and I'm like, lucky you. Oh my goodness, I'd be baking all day. I would use that all the time. 2 of them. So I ended up getting 2 bowls just for this type of purpose. If I, need the yolks and I'm making one batter, and then I want to make a meringue in the other one, and I don't want to, wash everything out. I'm going to take all this and put it in here, and you may see some dry ingredients from the almond paste and sugar. Don't worry about it. We're going to mix it in. Okay. So it's a very dense batter. Don't get worried about that. It will be okay. And we're going to leave 1 layer of this. We're going to divide this into thirds. 1/3 we're going to leave in here. And the other 2/3 we're going to divide up in different bowls, 2 different bowls, so we can color, make them really, really pretty. So I am just going to get that ready. You see how really dense that is? It's almost a batter at this point. Not a batter, like a dough almost. A dough batter. What would you call that? A daub. Something, I don't know. No one has figured it out yet. All right, in between a dough and a batter. So I'm just going to get all my dry ingredients. I have a little bit of almond paste and flour on the bottom. And there is that little blip, that little like belly button, if you will, of that bottom of that mixer. So you do get sometimes dry ingredients that get stuck. All right, so now I'm going to take my, carefully not touch on the inside, about 4 egg whites. They are at room temperature. So I've left them out for about maybe an hour. All right, and I saved a 1/4 cup of granulated sugar. So there's already 3/4 cup of granulated sugar in this batter. And now I'm going to add 1/4 cup of sugar into the egg whites. And the reason I do this is to prevent my egg whites from getting overbeaten. And I'm being very careful. I have some batter on my hands, and I don't want to get that beautiful egg white contaminated, because you won't be able to beat it up. So we're going to wait until our egg whites get nice and foamy. So you're going to go relatively high speed. And then we're going to do 1/4 cup of granulated sugar, about a tablespoon at a time, until we get stiff peaks. And then we're going to fold them into our batter, heavier batter. So you always want to put light on top of heavy. And once they lighten up, when it gets nice and foamy, we're going to add a little bit of our sugar, just a little bit. I put it in a bowl that I can sort of put in like about a tablespoon at a time, and then let it go for a while at high speed. Warp speed, Scotty. I love Star Trek. A little bit more. And then once it actually gets really, really beautiful and fluffy like a mountaintop, then you're ready to go. Sugar will actually, the granules of sugar go in between the little strands of protein in the albumin of the egg white, because albumin and egg white are the same thing. So I'm going to put a little more in. And it will prevent the egg whites from bonding so closely as they're beaten that you get a very tight, almost like soap-like thing, which is, it looks like soap suds. You ever put too much soap in the washing machine? I have. It's not pretty, but it does look like a meringue that has no sugar. So I'll show you this. And it's a lot easier to deal with a meringue that's had sugar. It's a lot easier to mix it into various ingredients. That's why we do that. All right. So here we are. I have my beautiful meringue. Woo, stiff peaks. All right, stiff enough that you can climb them. That's what we want. So, and I did it with my whip attachment. All right, and now I'm just going to, it's all going to go into the same spot, but this is really heavy. So I'm going to take like a blob of it, maybe a third or so, and this is when it's going to get a little hard to do, because we really want to get this in. You can actually whisk it in, or you can just mix it in. And we're basically, in a way, sacrificing this meringue because it's got the air in it. But we're really not trying to lighten too much our dough. We're just trying to make it less dense. And I mean lighten as in we're not trying to help the dough rise into an egg foam cake or a sponge cake, because that's not what we're doing. All right. So sometimes I use just my rubber spatula. And I don't want to bang too much, or else you'll hear me banging the whisk. So I want to get all my batter out. Most of my batter out. All right. Chef Gail's going to use her fingers. You know, I know you're here, but this is what I do when you're not here. Your fingers and your hands are really your best tool when you bake. You can feel your dough, you can feel things, you can feel if the cake is done. It's really important. Don't be afraid to get your fingers in there. All right? Get all this out of here, and I'm just going to use my rubber spatula. This is pretty dense. All right. If you want to use your whisk, you can. All right. And sometimes I use it and sometimes I don't. I'm doing a little banging. Okay, all right. Because we really want to get as much out as we can. But I want to mix these in. All right, so I'm going to just mix them in. And it's getting lighter. You can see it's a little bit lighter than it was. And then we're going to mix the rest of them in. Again, it is a dense batter. All right. It is a dense batter. All right. Before I get them all in, I'm going to mix the rest in. Okay. The other 2/3 or so. And those we're just going to fold, but it's going to be like a rough fold. it's actually going to be roughly folded in because this is a pretty dense main batter on the bottom, so I'm not going to worry about it. I'm not making a sponge cake. If I sacrifice some of the air bubbles that are created when I made that meringue, it's no big deal. Usually if you made a sponge cake, that's what you would do. You'd put the meringue on top of the light batter, or the heavier batter, and lighten it up. And that's basically what we're doing here. That's the reason for the meringue. I like to lighten it up. All right. Be patient. Just get it in there, because one is super light and one is super dense. So the dense is like, no way, meringue, are you going to enter our layer in our batter? But so it has. All right, see how nice? It's actually getting nice and batter-ish that we can spread it. Not like a dough like it was before, okay? So I'm mixing it well enough that I can get most of the egg whites. I don't see a lot of streak of egg white in there. If you see a few, just make sure you cover them up. All right. Again, this is not a sponge cake, folks. Do not think it's a sponge cake. All right. And now we're going to take 1.5 cups of our dough, or I keep calling it a dough batter. I'm going to take 1.5 cups. And we're going to put it into 2 separate bowls. So let's get, and I have my solid measuring cup because I do want to get a very exact measure. Okay. So we're going to do this. I'm going to put that, and one of them I will dye pink, and the other one I will dye purple. And then the other one left in here, I will leave, excuse me, as our yellow cake. Okay. So just do this, divvy it up. Okay. Now I'm going to get another one. Move that out. And it's not going to be a huge amount of batter, so don't think that you're dealing with, oh my goodness, it's such a small amount. It's supposed to be a small amount. Remember, this is not a cake. It's a cookie. It's a cookie. Ah, there you go. That's 1 cup. And we're going to take half in here. All right. There we go. Scrape it off. Use your fingers. Do whatever you want to do. Okay. Okay, and then this one I'm going to leave. All right, and that should be about 1.5 cups as well. So you end up with 3 bowls. All right, 3 bowls of batter. All right, so one of them we are going to dye purple. And I have a little purple gel food coloring. Use as much as you want. I'm going for about the color of my shirt. If you want it to be a little lighter, you can be a little lighter. If you want to make some sort of a, you're having a party and you want, more pastels, make it more pastel. I like purple. I like a nice violet color. So I'm going to make it nice and violet and very pretty. See how pretty that looks? Really nice. We match. Where is Chef Gail? You can't see her. She's the same color as the batter. All right, so that's 1 batter. All right, 1 batter. And then I have my other batter. We're going to make pink. And we're going to put Halea jam with, believe it or not, also known as ube extract, which is going to be even more intense flavor. I'm going to move that out of the way. In between one layer, the jam, that's been sort of made more powerful in flavor with the ube extract. And then the next layer in between the cakes, we're going to put raspberry preserves, seedless raspberry preserves. See how nice that looks? All right. So we have pink and we have purple. All right. So I'm going to take one of my pans, and I'm just going to show you quickly how to do one of these. All right. I'm going to go grab another spatula. All right. Make sure you have spatulas that are not going to get the color in on them, because you don't want to dye your beautiful spatulas if they're white. So I'm just going to get that all around. And it doesn't look like a lot of batter, and it's not, so you're going to have to use your offset spatula and get that in there in a way. I'm just going to plop it in, okay, gently plop it in. Plop is not a culinary term, so it's a Chef Gail term. So I'm going to put that in there. I'm going to take a small offset with a little kink in it, and I'm actually going to watch my parchment paper, and I'm going to smear it all over, almost like you're making a sandwich and you're smearing mayonnaise or peanut butter or cream cheese, and you're just smearing it. See, it's going to be nice and thin, nice and thin. And they only bake for like 11 minutes. That's it. So because I only have 2 of these, I am going to bake 2 at a time, take one out, let it cool, and it doesn't take long to cool at all, very little time. And then I am going to take it out, wash my pan quickly, grease, put more parchment in, and bake off that 3rd layer. And then I'm going to have a purple, and I'm going to have a pink, and I'm going to have a yellow layer. And the yellow is because of those egg yolks. So I am going to continue spreading this. And you can see where I'm going with this, right? See how nice? It spreads very nicely, very easily. But you do have to have a little patience. And you do want to make it as pretty as possible. You don't want to get it, if you can, if possible, up the sides. You want to keep as much of it as possible on the bottom of the pan, because it's a small layer. All right, so you got to do what you got to do. Smear it, and make sure it's level and even as much as possible. All right, I'll show you. This is coming out lovely. And I'm going across the middle part too to make sure I am smeared evenly. Okay, so I'm smearing it even, so nothing is going to be uneven, because we want 3 levels that are even. Okay, each one should be approximately the same size. All right, as humanly possible as that is. All right, so there you have it. I have my pink layer. I'm going to continue smearing and spreading my purple or my vanilla, either one that I choose, in this pan. I'm going to bake them 11 minutes. They will get lightly brown around the edges, but they're not going to really brown. And when you touch it, it's going to feel a little bit like it'll sag in a little bit. Take it out after that. Otherwise, you're going to overbake it if you leave it in. So 11 minutes, take it out, and just let it cool in the pan. And I will see you back. So my 3 different colored cakes came out of the oven, and they are gorgeous. Take them out right at 11 minutes. Let them cool. Lift them out by the parchment paper. And then I put my purple one down without the parchment on a cutting board, because we're going to want to cut them in little rectangles when we're done. So we're not done yet. We need to fill them, and we need to put weights on top of them so that they actually stick together. So the first layer over our purple cake is going to be the Halea ube jam, and that's what it looks like. It's beautiful. We all match. And I'm going to sort of poof up the flavor profile, if you will, with some ube extract. They actually make that. You can get it online. You can get it in the grocery store if you see it. It smells absolutely delightful. This is 2 teaspoons. And be careful, it's purple. And when I mean purple, I mean purple. So I'm putting it in with my Halea jam, you know, that purple sweet potato beautiful jam, because it already is purple. So like with like, right? That will boost up the flavor. That'll give it a little pizzazz. And now we're going to spread it on. So this is, I just want to make sure I tell you the right amount, 1/3 cup plus a tablespoon of your Halea ube jam, your Halea jam, okay? So I'm going to put it on top, and it's got to cover with a thin layer the whole length of my 13-inch length of my pan, okay? And now you're going to get a offset spatula, like a thin little offset spatula, and you're going to smear it again. A lot of smearing in this recipe, so I hope you're ready for that. So we're just going to smear this, and it looks pretty because it's going to be purple. Then we're going to put the yellow layer on top of this layer, and you want to get it all the way to the edges. We are going to trim, so don't worry. We always like to trim. All right, I have a piece of plastic wrap that we're going to put the whole plastic wrap on top of the 3 layers so we can weigh it down with some cans because we want everything to stick. All right, and my cakes smell like almond. They are scrumptious smelling, so they're wonderful. You really want to make sure this is even, so I'm rotating everything. Just rotate it. Rotate, rotate. All right. And then I'm going to do my thing, because that's what's so good about the offset. You can actually catch some frosting on one side, scrape it off on a spoon or another offset. This is a mommy or daddy offset. This is the baby offset. But this is perfect for me. So see what's right for you. But an offset spatula is really, really helpful when you want to get down the sides of a cake, or spread something on a cookie, or spread a batter in a pan. It's really something that you can use. Hint, hint. Holiday or birthday present. All right, so I'm going to get a little bit more over here. I'm holding on to this in case I need to scrape. All right. And then we're going to put our yellow layer on top. Now, these are so thin and so delicate, these layers. I warn you, use caution, Obi-Wan. They're very, very thin, and they're very delicate. The almond paste is full of fat, so it's really very, very tender. So I am going, all right. I've cut off, I have this, I lifted it right off my pan on the parchment, as you can see, and put it on another cutting board. And I'm just going to slide it to the edge. And what I did was I took the daddy offset and I just slid under it after it cooled down so it was slidable. And I'm going to slide it off and just get it level. Okay, make sure you grab that parchment paper out of the way. You don't want parchment in there. A little surprise. We don't want that. And you're going to push, push, push. But again, you're going to be weighing it down. So I'm going to just put that in my sink. And now we're preparing to put the filling on the yellow layer. So this is going to be seedless raspberry jam. And I'm just going to stir that up. And that doesn't need any zhuzhing up. That's fine by itself. 1/4 cup seedless raspberry jam. Now, some people, I won't say who, like the seeds. So use seeded, you know, full of seeds, regular raspberry jam with the seeds. And if you get, you know, the stink eye from somebody, well, I told you, most people like it seedless. But I do like the seeds in the raspberry jam. Some people complain, oh, it gets stuck in my teeth. I don't like it. Well, you can also use something else if you wanted to use like strawberry jam or apricot jam. Feel free. All right, so I'm just going to smear this. And this is 1/4 cup. The reason it's less, it's more smearable. It really just slides better. So I think that I don't need as much. And again, this is basically just to adhere the layers together, because when you see them, they are so impressive to look at. It's like double take, you know, you're looking at a cookie table or a holiday party table and there's some cookies in the middle and you're like, whoa, whoa. It's just like you just saw a stud muffin go by, you know, like Robert Redford or somebody really, really cute. Robert Redford, even though he's older, he's still hot. I'm sorry, I can't help it. What is he, in his 80s? Probably approaching 90 maybe? Okay, we digress, folks. So here we go. We are spread out, delicious. And now we are going to do the same bit of surgery, all right, without any fuss, with the pink layer. And I'm just going to take off a little bit of the crust there. We are going to cover this whole thing once we weigh it down with a thin layer of chocolate. So here I did my parchment paper from the pan, and then I just went underneath it to loosen it, and I'm just going to make sure it's loose. Loose as a goose. So perfect. So I'm going to slide it over and then pick it up on whatever flat surface you have. You might even have a big plate like this. And just gently slide it, get it close. Slide, 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 pull away your board, and you did it. And you can see you got the beautiful 3 layers, but they don't look anything like they're going to look when we're done with them. They're going to look so pretty. So I've got this on top. Okay. This is just as a barrier because I'm going to put some heavy duty cans on top. And I have a big sheet pan, and I'm just going to load it with some cans. So anything you want, just load it up, anything you got. Just make it even, all right? Make it even. All right, make it even. All right. And then I put it in a cold spot, like the refrigerator or even outside if it's wintertime where you are, and just let it sit and chill till it gets pretty solid, couple hours, even overnight. If you had to go for 2 days, that's fine. And then we're going to cover it in chocolate. See you back. So we have our layers all done of our cake with our fillings. And I'm going to take that cutting board with our giant cookie right now onto a larger sheet pan. I'm going to cover it with plastic wrap. And then I'm going to take another sheet pan on top because we're going to weigh it down with some cans. All right. And I'm going to put this in the fridge or a cold spot and let it chill and sort of firm up with the fillings in it. And then what we're going to do is I'm going to need a few more cans. And then what we're going to do is leave it for a couple hours till it gets nice and chilled. You can even leave it for a day or 2 in the fridge. And then we're going to remove it from the fridge and cover the top, just the top, with a thin layer of chocolate. See you back. My ube rainbow cookies are gorgeous. They have chilled, they're nice and cold, and it's been maybe a couple hours. You know, put them in your fridge. If you can't deal with them today, you want to do it tomorrow, the next day, you can leave them in your fridge. That's fine with the cans on. And after a couple hours, if the cans won't fit in your fridge, just remove them, take the cans off, put it back in covered with plastic wrap. Now I took 1 cup plus 2 tablespoons of high quality semi-sweet chocolate chips, and I melted it over a double boiler, or melted them. And I always wipe the bottom of the bowl so that you don't get the moisture and condensation from that double boiler, because you don't want to add water into your chocolate or get your beautiful ube rainbow cookies wet. And we're just going to put the chocolate on the top. Put it all on there. We're only doing the top layer. We're not doing the sides, just doing the top layer. Okay. And I use my little offset spatula. You can use your big one or your little one. I like my little one. I feel like I have more control for the size hands that I have, but everyone's different. And again, we're going to smear. This is easier to smear. Chocolate is so much fun to smear because it's like a beautiful puddle of melted silkiness. So we're just going to go right over to the edges. Okay. And then we're just going to give this a quick chill, just to get the chocolate hard, and then we're going to cut them up. Now, it doesn't look like a large cookie. The bars will be tiny because they're very rich with all that almond paste and eggs and halea, ube, and jam. But this gets about 6 to 7 dozen cookies. Once you cut it into little rectangles, and you can cut it into little squares, you can cut it into little rectangles. I'm going to rotate. Okay. And obviously you're not going to put any cans on top of this. You're just going to let it go right out, right into your fridge, real quick. But you want this as smooth as you can get it and as even as you can get it. Okay, so try to even that up. And we are going to cut the edges off to just straighten them, because sometimes when you take them out of the pan, you get a little bit of a, it sticks to the pan or whatever, so it might not be as perfect. So we're going to get the little jagged edges and move those. These cookies are beautiful, and I love the color. I love the pink. I love the purple together, and I love that there's that yellow layer on the inside. So I'm just going to go quick round, back and forth. Sometimes you can have so much fun doing this you don't want to stop. Sometimes I have to say to myself, okay, enough. Put it in the fridge. Give it a rest. Because it's like, this is like therapy. This is like really calming. Calming to me is baking. Baking is a calming place. Okay, so I'm going right over. And now I'm going to put these in the fridge. Okay, Chef Sokol. Okay, put the spatula down. Okay, we're done. Okay, now I'm going to put these in the fridge just until the chocolate gets nice and firm, and I'll see you back. So the chocolate on my ube rainbow cookies has gotten very firm in the refrigerator. And now I've taken off maybe 1/4 of an inch on all sides. And I'm just going to do my last side just to give it a less rough look in case any little pieces came off. And this you may want to eat yourself because they're so good, but they may be a little rough. So now what I'm going to do is cut maybe 1 inch, like strips, and you should get about 12 strips, and you're going to make several. You can make them as big as you want, but because these cookies are so rich, you really do want to make them small. So at this point, you can see that it's supposed to maybe about 1.5 inches for each one. I'm going to put them on this nice plate. And I'm using a serrated knife to cut them, and they do look simply gorgeous. Gorgeous. And you can see the ube in there, and you can see the raspberry jam, and they're just beautiful. If you want to make them a little bigger, a little smaller, if you want to make a pyramid of your ube rainbow cookies, please do. I'm going to do one more strip. These should be stored in the refrigerator in an airtight container. And then you can put them out on your serving plate whenever you want to serve them. But the chocolate does need to be refrigerated, and the ube as well. But look how pretty they are. These are really pretty. Pretty, pretty. I'm going to cut a baby amount off of this one because I need to try it. You get like a hit of almond and the ube and a little raspberry. Happy holidays. Happy anything. I hope you make these beautiful ube rainbow cookies, and I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful holiday season and cookie time. And I hope you become a subscriber. Till next time.